This next guy doesn't need an introduction. Geno Auriemma, come on out, man. Let's do this.
Just because I don't need an introduction doesn't mean I don't want one.
I know, you want to hear it. Wait, you need the approval, man. Get that validation going.
I need some of that drug, baby.
Hey, well, as you listen to what Becky and I just discussed, you're thinking what?
I'm thinking that, yeah, there's a reason we got into this, but that reason seems so far away that it's like another lifetime, another universe. That what we're doing now is not even remotely connected to why we got into this in the first place. That it's become something you could never envision, and we've become something that we always used to despise in other people.
And how do you think about that?
I think it sucks. And I think that you become very cynical in your job, and you start to project your feelings on your players and other people. And you don't work as hard as you used to, and you accuse your players of not working as hard as they need to be working. You don't like yourself, so you don't like your players. It's just like, you can predict it.
So I think about that. There is a great line where if you walk down a hallway and you smile at someone, 9 times out of 10, they're going to smile back, which shows that we create our own energy.
Generally.
So if you think about that and you interface it with what you just said, what do you think?
Well, it's easy for me to be happy and smile at everybody I meet, because that's what I do. But that doesn't mean I like you. You know, but I genuinely like other people. I'm too trusting of a person. So everybody that I meet, I act the same way to everybody. And I assume that I'm going to like them until I don't. For whatever reason, they just made me not like them. Nothing, it doesn't take long. It takes about a minute and a half to be around somebody. When you're in our business, if you can't tell in a minute and a half whether you want to interact with that person, then you're not good at your job. So we're pretty good at, now, at the same time, I think we're also experts at hiding all the bad shit that we are. We're not going to let you see it. We're going to work really, really hard to hide that from our recruits, from our players, from our administrators. We're
Hey, you're making me think, because there's a coach that they take alternate routes back from the airport to campus because they don't want the recruit to see the real route.
Oh, yeah. When I was coaching at Virginia, I remember they told me stories of, I think it might have been Bones McKinney, I'm not sure, but he coached at NC State, and, it's a state school, and it doesn't look so good. So he took a recruit to Wake Forest, and I goes, man, it's beautiful. That's it. Kid shows up, and he's at NC State. Go, what the hell is going on here, So, yeah. I mean, I think I went to see Chris Rock in concert one time. He had the greatest line of all time. He said, the person that you meet, that's just the representative that they send out to meet you. It's not really them.
And so how do you deal with those two selves? Because it's like a performer self and a real self.
Right. One of my favorite songs is Bob Seger's Turn the Page, where he talks about, here I go again, up on a stage. Here I go again, playing star again. You have to be that person. So when I first heard that song, it was in the early 70s. I was just getting out of high school, going to college. And I thought, man, what a life that must be. And when I met Bob Seger, I said to him, I said, I have to admit something. I said, that song really hit me when I was a kid. And then I woke up one day a few years ago and I thought, shit, I'm living that life. Whether I like it or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. Everybody wants to be famous until they are. Everybody wants everything that they think they want until they have it. And, you know, dealing with it is a lot harder than anybody can imagine.
Because it's like champagne problems?
I've said this a lot to you and to other people. The only thing worse than losing is winning all the time. Losing is a bitch. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that. We were down 3 in the Olympics in the semifinals to Australia at halftime. And after the game, I'm like hyperventilating. And Doug Bruno, who's my assistant, I said, come on, man, I need a cigarette bad. You know, walking. I was like this. And he's looking at me. He's like all calm and everything, you know, we came in. He goes, why are you like this? I said, do you do this every game? He goes, yeah. I said, I kill myself. If I had the coach like that, where every game we might lose, so losing is a bitch. But if you win all the time, I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to think I'm making this up. I schedule so that I can try to orchestrate losses. I pray to get my ass beat some games. Now, I lose my mind when we do, don't get me wrong. And I blame the players, and I bitch and moan, and I scream and yell. Meanwhile, I set it up so that we could lose. But then when we win, I'm like, damn, we're good. But I just pray that we lose. Like when we were winning that 111 in a row, every morning I got up and go, man, I hope today's the day that we lose.
Let me ask on that, because the pro coaches, they have to be seasoned with how they handle their emotions, because they burn the guys out long season. So it's very even keel. And I think they look at college coaches and how they deal with outcomes and feel like they're amateurs because the emotional onslaught that they do with their players.
No question. I interviewed with a pro franchise about coaching with them, and I was this far away from taking it, you know, an NBA job. And guy slicked to me, he goes, you know, I noticed that you haven't lost 2 games in a row since 1992. Now, this was just a couple years ago. And he goes, well, we'll take care of that by October 15th. And he's like, they're like, how are you going to deal with that?
And how'd you answer?
I said, not well. But I admire every one of those coaches. Like, I've gotten to know Brad a little bit, you know, who's done a bunch of these, Brad Stevens. And I watch his demeanor on the sideline. Good play, bad play, win, loss. You know, and I've been around those guys a lot, and they're like this. You know, Major League Baseball coaches, the guys that I've met, watch a pro football coach on the sideline. They call a play, guy runs the wrong route, guy's wide open, guy throws a pass, gets intercepted because he throws it at the wrong place at the wrong time. He just looks up, looks down at his card. What are we going to run next? I'd be out on the field choking that guy.
Hey, so let me ask you this though, because that's an interesting point, right?
Yep.
Because that's probably the most sophisticated form of management, and those leagues require that.
Correct.
When you show that to college coaches, sometimes they'll say, well, those kids are adults. And it's like, in some leagues, that's not the case. And so my question is, why don't you see that more sophisticated management at the lower levels?
Because there's this perception that you don't care then. See, you have to be animated on the sideline. You have to be into the game. You know, you have to be the show. You know, you're like the puppeteer, you know, and we won a lot of championships with me being like that. And we won a lot of championships with me not being like that. And I find myself the last couple of years being more like this. And there are people that would say, why don't you coach like you used to? Well, I am coaching like I used to. I mean, I'm still preparing my team the way I used to. I'm still expecting the same things, but they want you to, be more animated. I don't think, anybody's telling the pro coaches they want them to be more animated, be more involved in the game. That, you'll see somebody say, look at her, or look at him, look at those coaches. They just sit there.
So when you and Chris Beard, we'll just use that example because it was so visible. When you see that clip of him sitting down, reenacting the timeout, and basically being the show, when there's still a chance to win that game, what are you thinking as a coach?
I think back to when I was coaching down at Taurasi, and I would call a timeout. How long do timeouts last? A minute? The NCAA, they last like 5 minutes. It's like awful. How can you talk to your team for 5 minutes? It's like, come on. So I would call timeout. They last, minute and a half timeout. You ever see these coaching staffs? It's like they have a coach for every player, right? So you got 9 people on the coaching staff. And so they're called timeout. Then they all gather at half court or that's off the bench, and they all talk about what one person's going to say to the team. I'm like, so what? This timeout just kind of snuck up on you? And now you go, hey, they're all running over here. What are we going to tell them? So I've always been confused by that. So my timeouts would always be, all right, there's a minute and a half timeout. A minute of it is a rant by me bitching about the last play, about what was going on, bring up, and remember last week when then you bring up 2 weeks ago, and I remember Diana was the first one ever that when we called timeout and she wasn't in the game, I'm like this talking to my team, she would sit down on the floor right here, right next to me, and start going like this. Let's go, dude, what are we gonna run? Come on, man, what are we gonna do? And
Did that bother you?
No, it was like, at first I would go, what? And I would just keep ranting, right? But then after a while I realized, yeah, you called the timeout because you want to change what's going on out there. So why are you ranting? So she taught me a lesson about, if you're going to bring us over here, make it constructive. Otherwise, leave us out there.
Well, I think that's it's fascinating. I think that transitions perfectly into what we're going to be discussing. So I just want to show you this first clip, and this is on the state of relationships at the current generation. So this is Dave Smith. He is the track and field coach at Oklahoma State. Take a listen to this, and then tell me what you think.
We had a girl a couple years ago, was one of the best in NCAA history. She was a third-year sophomore. She had a good career left ahead of her. And I recruited her for 2 years, coached her for 3 years. We had a really good relationship. And in a span of about 15 minutes, an agent called her and flipped it to where I was the bad guy. I was taking advantage of her. I didn't care about her. I was only in it for me. And it was shocking to me that this girl who I knew and knew me really well, knew my family, knew my kids, I knew her parents, her brother, her siblings, how a guy who comes in here and tells her what she wants to believe, she's already preconditioned to, I want to hear this. So when he tells it to her, it was like that quick.
Thoughts?
The way we got to be where we are as a program at Connecticut is strictly through relationships. Because when we started coaching, we had nothing to offer. We had nothing to sell. No facilities, like you talked about. The school wasn't worth the crap back then. The only people that went there were kids who couldn't get in somewhere else or couldn't afford to go anywhere else. So the only thing we could sell was a relationship with me and Chris Daly, my assistant. So the two of us would go in on a home visit and say, you want to play for us? We're trying to build something here. You want to be a part of it. was all relationship based. So I could coach them really hard because they believed in me and I believed in them. They took a chance on me, and I really believed that I could help them be better. And that's how we built our program. And I think that's gone. I think that's history. Because now I have to work so hard at having a relationship with players. And it wouldn't be so bad if they worked just as hard, but they don't. They want you to work really hard to have a relationship with them. But that relationship only lasts, as Coach said, as long as you're pretty much saying what they want to hear and doing what they want to be doing. I had a father say to me one time, their kid wasn't being exactly what he thought she would be. He goes, "Hey, this isn't what I had planned out." I said, "It's not what I had planned out either." I said, he goes, "What do you think it is?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Did you ask her?" He goes, "Yeah." "And what did she say?" She said, "He's really hard on me." "Well, I guess it's not working, is it?" And he goes, "Well, maybe you ought to try a different way." I said, "Why?" "Why would I want to try a different way?" I said, "She's a lazy ass. Why don't you ask her?" Because if she wasn't, she would be a better player right now. He goes, "Well, isn't this, don't coaches and players have to be like compatible and be on the same page?" I said, "Yeah, they do. A coach says, hey, if you do this, this, and this, you're going to be really, really good. So I'll help you do this." Then the kid doesn't want to do it. How does that work? I said, "So see, you had her for 18 years. I've had her for 2, and you want me to fix in 2 years what you haven't been able to fix in 18 years. How's that work?"
And he says,
"Well, maybe this just isn't working." I said, "I have a solution. I think I know." He said, "What is it?" I said, "Give me a list of schools that you think would work for her and coaches that would do a better job for her, and tell me when you want to pick her up, and I'll have her ready."
and 25% of men Division I basketball players are in the transfer portal right now.
That's right. I just made a comment on that. There's 1,000 of them on the women's side. 1,000 in the portal. 200 of them have not been contacted by any schools. But when I made a comment, like, they're delusional. They think they're better than they are. To me, any good player can play for any coach. Doesn't matter what the coach is. If you're that good, you said you came to college because of your teammates. You came here because you wanted to be a part of a family. So who walks out on their family just because things are not going well? Just because all of a sudden you're not getting the playing time that you used to get. Or the one that's even worse is you're playing 30 minutes a game and you leave. Because why? Something out there, someone, like Coach said, promised you something better. So I think this relationship, this loyalty thing, this thing that used to be what college athletics was, unfortunately is no longer. And now we have become an extension of the pros. And now, as college coaches, we are being forced to coach like you're an NBA coach. So you just coach them. And the other people are more influential to them in their ears than you are. You used to be the most important person in their life. Think about that. Kid got up every morning and they have one goal. How do I please my coach so that I play more? Now they have so many voices in their head that it's very difficult for you to be the most influential person in their life.
The thing that I feel is that in my sport, maybe in your guys' too, kids, it start out doing it because they love it. It's fun. They enjoy it. They become good at it. They like the competition. But when they start getting better, they start getting attention. And now even more so with all the social media and blog posts and people covering every sport, niche sport, whatever. Pretty soon, I think they start getting addicted, not to the joy and the fun of it, but to the attention. And in my sport, we get kids who come in who are absolutely got 150,000 followers on Instagram, and everything they do, they put up, and they get likes and hearts and all this crap. And they get addicted to that attention. They think it's the running and the competition they're addicted to or that they love, but it no longer is. And when that running starts to go sour and they're not getting attention from it, they find other ways to get attention, and most of them aren't constructive.
Yeah, I have a kid on my team that has 800,000 Instagram followers. And she was the best player in the country this year as a freshman. And she's always being compared to our former players or other players. And she finally got off of that stuff because no matter how good she was, it wasn't good enough. And people are sensitive when you're a kid to other people's opinion of you. You can't get away from it. You know? That adulation made you. I call her Paige Kardashian. When she first showed up in October, I say, hey, here she comes, Paige Kardashian. And she goes, what? I said, you're famous for being famous. So you haven't done shit. You haven't scored one basket for UConn, and you're the most famous UConn player in history, according to everybody else out there. I said, do you realize how insane that is? She goes, yeah. She goes, but it's not my fault. I said, I didn't say it was your fault. You know, but that's the world that they live in.
And it's such a dangerous line when they confuse attention with acceptance.
Yeah. Trying to explain that one is not easy. But is our job as coaches to give them more attention? Or is it to give them more of a feeling of, I can handle the world? I'm growing up every day. Coach is putting me in situations that I got to think my way through, fight my way through, come out on the other side, and know that I did it by myself. Isn't that our job? But that involves a little bit of criticism, a little bit of like, hey, you failed. Hey, you need to do this better. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Isn't that, and I tell them all the time, if I didn't do this, you wouldn't need me. I said, you have to understand, I'm another one of your professors. When you go to class, you go to your English class, and you hand in a lousy paper, that professor is going to give you a C or a D. That's life, man. So when you come here and you give me C and D work, and I tell you that you're a C and D player right now, I'm not making that up. I'm another one of your professors. So you wouldn't blame your professor for giving you a D. Don't blame me that you're a D player right now. But yet they think that in sports is different than real life, and it's not. Sports is life.
I want your thoughts on this, because I see this a lot on the guys' side, especially as they become pros, is that they have fixers around them. Mm-hmm. So when they mess up, there's people that clean that up so they never have to experience the consequences of their choices. And that's how they continue to climb. And then they get to a place where the consequence is so big that it can't be fixed. And now they're left to deal with it without any reps of fending for themselves.
That's a really great analogy and a great point, and it's real life of someone who has been passed along in school without doing the work because nobody wants to deal with them anymore. And now all of a sudden they're in college, and it's the first time that they actually have to study to get the grades they used to get in college, and they don't know how to do it that they used to get in high school. And I think as coaches, We're exactly like that. We have fixers around us. Hey, I need, who's getting lunch today? Well, how about you get off your ass and you go get it yourself? I know that's what they want to say, but somebody will run out and grab me a sandwich. You know, you have an administrative assistant. Hey, why am I getting this bill? I'll take care of it. The average person is like, damn, and they got to deal with it. So I make more money than the average person, and I don't have to deal with any of my problems. There's something wrong with the world, right? Right? I mean, that's not, that's...
Imagine when you put that with a 21-year-old.
That's right.
Who organizes their whole life to bring their best energy at night. And then after the game, they're doped up on all the performance stuff. And then the only establishments that are open at that time, I mean, that's how they get away from it. They find coping mechanisms that can counterbalance the pressure that they feel over here. And they usually end up compounding their problems.
Hey, look, if you're a 21, 22-year-old college kid and you just want a big game on the road or at home or whatever, and we get back, our plane lands, and we get back to campus, and you ain't going out and finding someplace to do that, then you know what? There's something wrong with you, and we ain't going to win. So if you're going back to bed and having a hot chocolate and reading your book, you ain't winning no national championships. I'll tell you that right now.
So what do you think?
I had one coach recently say to me, he goes, oh my God, man. He goes, one of the guys called me. They showed me a picture of one of my guys. He's in a bar. He's having a great time. He goes, I didn't know it. And today, you know, I pitched him 5 innings. He goes, Jesus Christ. He goes, I didn't know. I go, how do you pitch? He goes, amazing. I said, exactly. I'm not recommending that. But what I'm saying is, you know what the pandemic did? It eliminated all that. So it made them sit at home and keep everything inside bottled up and brought all the anxieties, and they had no relationships, no friends. All they had was their teammates and basketball. And if basketball wasn't going well for them at that point in time, they've got nothing. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to a bad place in their head. So you need that. You need that. The best teams I ever had were when kids had a lot of friends that weren't on the team, that they could spend a lot of time with, that accepted them for who they were, not because they were on the basketball team and were first team All-American. And a lot of that's gone away because of this pandemic. And because you're afraid to do anything because it'll be on social media. Or you can't wait to put it on social media. And I think the kids today, the first thing I say to them is, you live in a world that you didn't create, and you live in a world that was created for you by people that are not necessarily looking out for your best interests. So I'm not blaming you. You just happen to be growing up at a time that's very difficult. And I'm trying to change your world. And it's not easy, and you have to help me here. That's why you came to play for us, because you want to be different than the other kid playing over there. So we have to do things differently than the kids playing over there, which means we have to do things that are going to be painful for you guys.
It's just fascinating because if you look at all this, it's the way they're socialized, right? And so I'm going to show you a clip. This is Brad Beal. He's a St. Louis kid. He's a max contract player for the Washington Wizards.
And a nice guy, too.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Went to Florida and is giving back to the community in this clip. This is his youth basketball team. Halftime, they're not performing. Here's what he says.
Expecting the game means a lot, bro. On and off the court. How you carry yourself, all that shit matter, man. Y'all gotta understand, when you go to college, you don't get away with this shit, man. You get to the league, you don't get away from it. They take your bread, bro. You walk around this motherfucker, moping and pounding around, bro, it's either one or two things gonna happen where you at. They gonna ship your ass off, or they gonna wave your ass, or you ain't gonna have no job. They just gonna say, here, just take the money, we don't even want you. That's the two options you got in the league. And I don't never like pulling my NBA card, ever. But bro, y'all, it's only 400. That means if you got dreams to get into the league, you gotta play me. You gotta guard me. And guess what? Can't none of y'all motherfuckers guard me. Ain't none of y'all taking my job. I'm chilling. I can retire today and live on the beach for the rest of my life. And my mom and dad not work another day. Or my brothers. That's the type of good y'all want to be. That's what y'all want. Everything is grimy and gutter where we from, bro. So everything is gonna be that much harder for us. But guess what? When you got a gift and a talent like that, you gotta take advantage of it. You gotta perfect it. You gotta work on your shit. Because guess what? God will take that. If you ain't using it the right way, if you ain't using your bounce, you ain't using your shot, you ain't perfecting it, them gifts are gone. I believe in y'all, man.
Let's go.
I believe in y'all.
Let's get it, baby. Hey, all I ask y'all to do is finish strong, man.
That's
Finish
it,
up.
man.
Finish.
That's all we can.
Finish on 3. 1, 2, 3. Finish.
I would like to interview those kids an hour later and see if they can remember anything he said that didn't involve money and fame and being on the beach. The message that people deliver is one of hard work, prepare, hone your craft. That's an age-old adage that's been around since the beginning of time. But unfortunately, the society today puts fame in your lap without you having to actually do the things that you used to have to do to become famous. Fake famous. Right? Fake famous. I think it's my job, and Bradley was great about that. I think it's our job to try to hold on to those values of this is the only way that I know how to get you from point A to point B. And I you know, like you guys were talking about coaches, talking with Lisa, I say to my players all the time, you think it's an accident that we have the most players in the WNBA? I think we had like 14, 17, I don't know. The next highest school had like 8. So you think it's an accident that they've had 25 WNBA championships and 14 of them had 1 or 2 of my players on it? You think it's an accident that two best guards in the league are 2 40-year-olds that played for me and nobody can beat them? It's not an accident.
What's interesting to your point, because this is a screenshot that someone sent me after watching it. So here's right over here. You can see the picture of the kid.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And you can see the caption underneath it.
Right? That's what I was saying. I want to see what this kid remembered after Bradley was finished talking to him. And but hey, who are we to complain? Who are we to complain? You got to work.
So I got something on that, okay? So I want to show you
But no, I just want to say one more thing.
It's all yours, man.
You got to work. Try to hammer that message home every day, right? So, you know, I packed to come here. I packed sneakers and a workout thing. And I got up this morning. I had a choice. Go work out or sit there, drink coffee, and check on what happened in the stock market yesterday. You know what I did? I didn't work out. But you know what? Tuesday, when we start workouts with my team, be bitching it. You got to work, man. Like, we're the perfect example of what is out there, that you have to go against your nature. It's not in everybody's nature to get up every morning and work. That's why it's always good that you need somebody. If I was going to meet the guy that I work out with at 7 o'clock, I would have been there. But left to my own devices and having to do it by myself, and I got a choice. So I think our job as coaches is you don't give them a choice. You know, everybody says, well, you know, you have to empower kids. You have to, bullshit. Don't give them a choice. Because if you give them a choice, they're going to take the easy one. Then the exceptional kid is going to take the hard choice. At the military academy, I took my kids to West Point so that they could walk around for the day and meet those guys and, you know, train with those guys one day. And they have that saying, you know, don't do the easy wrong, do the hard right. Well, who does that? The exceptional people. Well, they don't need you. I've had kids, they didn't need professors. Just give them the syllabus, man. They'll do the rest and get a 4.0. And I've had players that they're going to get up in the morning and they're going to work and they're going to be an All-American, whether you help them or not. But those people they're the outliers. The average guy needs somebody behind them. And that's us.
I think about that because on Brad's team, maybe there's one guy or two guys that have a shot at the league, and the message is all about the league. And so what happens to the other 12 that are taking that message? And to your point, those one or two guys are going to be fine without Brad.
No question.
And I feel like our most, like, can you imagine, in a non-religious way, but can you imagine like a Jesus saying to people, hey man, you got to be able to walk on water. Like, that's so far away from like their comprehension. And these are the people that we need to meet them where they are, right? To help pull them with our influence. And if we transition into the work piece, I just want to show you this because I think this is fascinating. This is young Will Smith. This is an interview that he did. And I just, immediate reactions. If you only saw this clip, how would you describe this character of a human?
The only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. Right? I will run.
You would not be outworked.
I will not be outworked.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, you might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple.
Yeah, I've coached guys like that. If I didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I wouldn't have 11 national championships. So I've coached guys like that.
And the words that come to mind.
You're getting off first. See, I think we're inherently built for challenges. And when we don't have a challenge, we are not as good as, we're not our best. So some people run faster when they're being chased, don't they? And I do that with my players all the time. I go, let's go. And they'll go. And I go, I bet you if somebody was chasing you with a knife, you'd run a lot faster. And you can see it in their face going, oh, yeah, hell yeah, I'd run a lot faster. So, you know, we all need that challenge. And some people, and maybe Will Smith is one of them, he challenges himself. But I guarantee you, he doesn't go as hard as when there's a guy next to him in the treadmill that's challenging him. Because that's what drives us. That's what makes us better, competition. But some people internally already have that. And those are the exceptional people. And he's an exceptional human being because he was able to get to where he got. And it seems to me like it's internal.
So he would, if you think about it metaphorically, coaches can probably relate to this, that the treadmill is the job. And there are some that are going to give everything they have to it. They're ready to die for success, right? And so they will get there. And so what I'd like to do is juxtapose that with old Will, wise Will from the Breakfast Club, and just hear how you think about this.
The idea for me is I painted myself into a corner with Will Smith, right? And I realized that, you know, we have our childhood traumas and we have our experiences, and then we all create these characters that are going to be our characters that defend us in the world.
Ooh.
There's certain things we can't do. There's certain things we can't say, certain ways we react if people do something, and we create a character that we go out into the world with. Then that character win some things for us. It's like, oh, we succeed by behaving this way. Then what happens, you get to a point where it stops working as well. And the reason that it stops working is because it's not true. It's not really who you are. And then you get backed into a corner, it stops working. Now the question is, are you going to be courageous enough and are you going to be brave enough to kill, essentially, the character that you've created, and are you going to have the courage to live as who you really are? And on my 50th birthday, when I jumped out of that helicopter over the Grand Canyon, that was kind of my moment for myself where I was like, I'm going to be who I am, even if it isn't in line with the Will Smith that people think I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. He's absolutely right. Those of us that are in the public light, that spend our lives in the public light, yeah, we're fake. We have to be fake until we realize we've forgotten what real is. And then when people remind you, you get pissed at them, because they're reminding you of something you already know, but you don't want to acknowledge it. I think Denzel Washington said, I shared this quote with my team, that it takes a lot more courage than most people have to look at themselves and say, I have to change. I have to change. I have to be true to myself.
Well, I think that's what's so fascinating about your story, because you can outgrow your motivation. So if you think about what Brad's selling, you think about young Will, there's no conflict there. Like, he's singular in his approach. I am going to get it. And then when you get everything that everyone has told you, this is what it's about, and you realize that it doesn't possess the value that maybe you thought that it did, it can put you into a confusing state. And that's something that Tom Brady deconstructed on 60 Minutes. So the last clip I'll show you, it's a quick soundbite around, and I would encourage you all to watch this, around what he started to think after he had reached the pinnacle.
Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings and still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey man, this is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life is me. I think, God, it's got to be more than this. I mean, this can't be what it's all cracked up to be. I mean, I've done it. I'm 27. And what else is there for me?
What's the answer?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
Can I ask you one question before you get going on that?
Do you know the last time I was happy?
Uh-oh.
I don't mean happy in life. I mean happy winning a championship. It was a couple years ago, and there's a picture in our office building of me being genuinely happy that we won the national championship. And I walk by it every once in a while, and I look at it, and I just shake my head, and I want to get back to that. Because what's happened is those national championships, when we won, it's like, you know what you're getting for Christmas. So when you open it, and it's exactly what you knew it was going to be, it's, hey, that's nice, thanks. You're not surprised, you're not elated, you're not over the top, you're just, yeah, that was cool. That's what I've become.
And I think the question I had is, you have everything that so many people around you are chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And you understand the value that it possesses, and you see the masses, and it's almost like you're going away from that. How do you think about that?
I think what I've created for myself personally and for my profession are such unreal expectations that I wake up every day. I know, I keep thinking back to when Stewie graduated and we had just won 4 national championships in a row, and a normal, sane human being would have just got on their horse and rode off into the sunset with Stewie. And you would be a legend for life. And I said, you know what? I think I can do it again. And I'm still waiting to do it again. And now it can only end bad. But in a funny way, maybe I wanted it to end bad.
What do you see with that?
What is that?
Tom Brady with his trainer a few days after celebrating the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I mean, people like that, there's a reason they are where they are. He's not celebrating. The celebration maybe lasted that long because, as I said, when you know you're going to get what you set out to get, it's the getting it that's rewarding. It's not having it. Having it is a letdown. Going on the way to get it, and the anticipation of going to get it, the planning on going to get it, how you're going to get there, what it's going to feel like when you hold it in your hand. That's what it's all about. While you're holding it in your hand and after you look at it, like Jeremy Foley said, then you go, all right, that was nice. You guys want to go eat? Which is, I think, a kind of a lousy way to approach it because it's so special. But this is how I explain it to my players now, so they know I'm not full of shit. And they know that it's not about me anymore. Because if we don't win another national championship, I could care less. I already make more money than any coach in the country coaching women's basketball. So what am I going to do? Make more money? No. I'm not going to make more money. Well, all of a sudden I'm going to buy a new house? No. I like where I live. Buy a bigger boat? Shit. I smack the boat I have into the dock every day. What am I going to do? My life won't change this much if we win another national championship. Not one. It won't even register. It'll be flatline if we win another one. I've already won more than anybody else has ever won. So what do I care if I don't win another one again? But see, Paige came to Connecticut to win championships. So the first time she does, if God willing, we're fortunate enough to do that, I would be like over the top happy for her, because I promised her that I would give her an opportunity to do that. So it's almost like having grandkids. When you have your own,
get to see them open the
yeah, when you have your own kids, you're like, little shit. You know, they rip stuff open. You know how hard I had to look to get you that. But with your grandkids, you just like, it's joy every day because they love you every day just for no reason whatsoever. They love you every day. And my kids asked me one time, you weren't that nice to us. I said, I didn't like you guys as much as I like these guys. So now it's all about me. It's when I tell my players, this is all about you, now, finally, these last 4, I'm actually telling the truth. Because before, it's, look, I can help you do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. And the kid's like, yeah. Then you get back on the plane and you go, shit, I think that kid could help me win 3 more national championships. You know, so it is all about you.
Yeah.
Until when? Until you realize, no, it's not.
There's so much insight into that. And I think about this picture, and I think about how much time we spend, as you said, in the process of getting it, and just how finite that moment of time of having it. And it makes me think of a great quote that your friend Sherry Cole said, how we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. Let's give it up for Geno.
Thank you.